The greatest form of live entertainment, live theater, live sports, a mixture of so many emotions, so many colorful characters, a cast of crazy, kooky individuals that come together and make this great industry of professional wrestling the thing that so many fans have poured their money, their heart, and souls into to witness their favorites and the ones that they can't stand battle it out, butt heads, and just absolutely destroy each other, and hopefully our good guys triumph and our bad guys are stomped into the goddamn dirt. They are just held down and it's like, you will go. You will not beat my favorite. And that's for professional wrestling events that I have witnessed on television, pay-per-view, or even ones that I have had the honor to sit in the crowd and just absorb the energy, whether in a crowd of just a couple hundred or whether in a crowd of thousands and thousands of fans. I have absolutely loved professional wrestling for nearly 4 fucking decades. And there are many sayings when it comes to professional wrestling, and there are just many tropes, whatever you want to say, but there's one saying that always sticks out in my mind, and it will stick with me until the day I leave this earth. And that's, all they'll remember is the finish. Now, I want to talk about what led up to the finish of this particular event from the perspective of somebody that was sitting right on the floor and witnessing it all unfold in real time. And believe me, oh my, down on the Tacoma Bayou, you don't want a finish to fall that goddamn flat, where the crowd isn't saying, I can't wait to see these bad guys get their comeuppance. No, it's like, really? Really? That's what you're fucking giving us? That's what we sat here for 5 goddamn hours? So good job, Tony Khan. It's your debut in Tacoma, and I don't think you're going to want to come back because you may have killed Washington State as a market. Good job. Thanks, guys. Let's go. I'm John Renton with my review of AEW WrestleDream 2024 from the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington. 21,000 seating capacity, and they had about 7,000 people there. WrestleTix said it was set up for about 8,300 people. I will be very fucking surprised if they got that many people there, due to the fact that it's bad traffic, it's Tacoma, and there were empty seats in a lot of the shots that I saw. They didn't have any of the box areas open. And look, to be fair, they still had a sizable crowd there. It was a lot bigger than I thought they would end up doing. It was bigger than what they did for WrestleDream at the Climate Pledge Arena last year, which I was also at. The only Washington State show I did not attend was the most recent Dynamite, because it was in Spokane, or Spokompton as we call it, and that is every bit of 5 hours away from me. One way, on the other side of the state. And I'm glad I didn't go. But I sat 8th row from the ringside, and I was able to have the honor and the privilege and just the absolute just thrill of sitting with 2 of my very best friends, Chris and Roxy. It was super awesome to be there with them, and there were a lot of really, really other good people there. I didn't get the names of, but a lot of great banter. It was a lot of fun. There was nothing like live professional wrestling. So this is not going to be a blow-by-blow thing. This is not going to be like as if I was sitting at home watching the pay-per-view. This is going to be from somebody that was there and somebody that wants AEW to succeed. And while there were good things on this show, this was a front-loaded pay-per-view. Because let's be honest, once that 3-way happened, they pretty much killed the goddamn crowd. Now, I don't know, how did we come across on television? I'm genuinely curious. Whatever device you watched on, whatever service you watch on. I'm curious how we came across. We tried to be as loud and as raucous as possible. But I do want to say that it was nice to see, a varied amount of matches. But as far as looking at the WrestleDream 2023 card and compare it to this, it's night and fucking day. There were some matches where it's like the 0 hour was practically just, it was Rampage level, maybe Collision level. But let's start with the pre-show. So we had the Machine Brian Cage against Atlantis Jr. for the Ring of Honor TV Championship. Cage is what he has always been. He's good. He's very athletic for his size. However he got that size. And Lannis Jr., he can do some cool flips. I did not really care about this match. I mean, we popped enough for it. It is kind of weird that Brian Cage was actually at the first indie show that I was able to see in Washington State. And look, good. He won the Ring of Honor TV Championship. And there were maybe a few people that cared. Like, we made as much noise as we could, but obviously people were filing in during this. It was what it was. Anna Jay, though, after coming back from Stardom, has obviously improved. And Harley Cameron, she was in a match, I believe, at the Dynamite in May. She's improved. I mean, there's really only, you can really only go up from, starting at your first match. Obviously, there was more focus on the fact that there are two very attractive women that are in the ring. And look, it's hard not to recognize Anna's improvement. And Harley did what she could. Was it a great match? No. Was it a horrible match? No. Anna won, and it wasn't bad. I didn't love it. I certainly didn't hate it. And then we got a backstage thing before the next match, where the MXM collection, Madden and Mansoor, or however, whatever their goddamn names are, I forget. But I just call him Dio Madden because that's his name, and I always think of that, anime. It was me, Dio. But they've had a third man. And the third man was Rico Constantino. Yes, the same one that was in OVW that was also the manager of Billy and Chuck and then the manager of 3 Minute Warning, and was actually wrestling and was, I believe, a former tag team champion on the SmackDown side, before retiring from wrestling, or at least leaving WWE in 04-05 sometime. And I heard he was not in the best health in the last number of years. Apparently he has, vastly improved. That's good. I was thrilled to see him. I was like, fucking Rico? Like, all right. And I was like, how old is Rico? Rico is 63, and credit to him. He's still in great goddamn shape. But the Acclaimed, along with Billy, Max Caster did his rap. There were a couple funny lines there. It plays better to the live crowd, I think, than it does on television. But it's the Acclaimed with Billy versus the MXM collection with Rico. Billy did make a comment where he said, you wanted to trust the guy that tried to marry me off to another man? No offense, Bowens. And see, that was funny. This was mostly a comedy match. You had MXM trying to touch tips. You had the Acclaimed doing their usual stuff. I did note that Caster's mustache, must be registered like on several watch lists. Bowens, I hate to say it, I think Bowens would be a better singles wrestler. I think the stuff with Caster is kind of, I think the Acclaimed stuff is kind of past its prime, past its sale dates, so to speak. It was a fine tag team match. It was mostly for comedy. They did the Scissor Me Timbers. MXM, did some good heel stuff. We got Billy and Rico having a confrontation. Rico took a bump on the Famouser at 63 years old, and Billy's not far behind. He's like 60. It was what it was. The Acclaimed winning. That was fine. I did end up, coming back from using the facilities, and you had Tony Khan doing, the leading the Inoki chant with Inoki's two grandsons. You have to imagine the grandsons are looking like, what the fuck? Tony Khan needs to stop yelling in the fucking mic. Just stop fucking doing this. Stop. Just don't do this anymore. Public speaking is not his thing. And the more he tries to speak in public, the worse it is. Arcady Ara, I believe is her name, Arcady Ara, she looks great. Aubrey got a big pop whenever she showed up, especially when she first showed up for, I don't remember if it was a women's match. I think it was a women's match. But she got a big pop. Home state woman, very good. Aubrey was feeling herself. She was having a lot of fun. And it was nice to have some Washington State representation. Then you had the Outrunners, Kyle O'Reilly, and Orange Cassidy, along with Rocky Romero. Rocky Romero was outside the ring for this match against the Dark Order members. I believe it was Silver and Reynolds. Arya Daivari, and Tony Nese, along with Smart Mark Sterling and Josh Woods. So Rocky and Josh Woods were outside the ring while this was going on, and it was a throwaway match. I didn't care. The Outrunners, however, were the standout here. They may have something with them. I don't know how long they can run with this gimmick. As long as they don't overexpose it, as long as they have fun with it. You know, it was what it was. The Outrunners did some good stuff. It was fine. The Outrunners, O'Reilly and Cassidy, won the match, as you would expect. Now we go to the main show. And there are certain matches I'm probably going to be a little bit mean to, but I want to be surprising with the first match because there's loud pyro. The Dome looked great. I did note, I actually did rewatch some of the 0 Hour, and while I don't have anything against these people in particular, the commentary is fucking rotten. They have to get better commentary. They have to get rid of Excalibur. They have to short things up. They at least get Excalibur off of some of these shows. JR was out there for some of the stuff, and JR did not look like he wanted to be there, and I know he's got his health issues. I know he has a passion for wrestling. Shivani doesn't really add anything, even though I like Shivani. And Nigel, I hate to say it, Nigel he's starting to become JBL as far as a heel commentator. And you know how much of an insult that is. And Nigel's a very good talker. But that's the one benefit about being there live at the Dome, despite the fact it was fucking Tacoma. Not having to hear the commentary. But Switchblade Jay White, who got a big reaction. I mean, my goodness, he got a big old reaction. It was him, Juice Robinson, that somebody said looked like the Honeycomb mascot, and me one Honeycomb. Can't unsee it. Can't unsee it at all. But Jay White against Hangman Page. Loud fuck you Hangman chants in my section and most of the arena from what I could tell. And apparently people said we were pretty loud for this. There were more Jay White fans than I expected. Jay working as a face is certainly interesting. And it was fine. I think it went maybe a little bit longer than it needed to. Jay White winning surprised me. I was like, people were like, okay. I mean, nobody really kicks out of the Blade Runner. I think I can name 2 people maybe that have. And I was on a delayed cover. So, good job protecting the finish. Hangman continues to lose it. And Jay White gets a win in his pay-per-view return. I mean, maybe I should have expected it, but I didn't. So, good stuff. Good. Good for what it was. What was also good was Mariah May, someone's champion. Somebody really likes Mariah May. I wonder who that is. No, they're cool. I just had to say that. Against Willow Nightingale. And Willow had everybody in Tacoma had the clap. Likely because it's Tacoma. I kid, of course. I'm sorry, but look, Willow has energy on her side, and she has a crowd on her side. It's hard not to root for Mariah because of how much she's improved and how much her time in Stardom and even doing the glamour stuff. She has really improved. This is a pretty good match. I'm not going to say it was necessarily great, but Willow got to show off her skill. Mariah got to show off what she could do. Mariah getting the win was like not shocking at all. And I don't know what they're going to do with Willow at this point. Maybe they'll push Willow. But I doubt they're going to at any point. Chris Statlander apparently is going to go back to being a face, which kind of made their feud more pointless. They're spinning their wheels in the women's division, and I don't understand why. Also, on the pre-show, or the 0 Hour rather, we had a confrontation between Mercedes and Queen Aminata, which I guess is going to be taking place on Dynamite. Remember that, because there are some matches on this show that really could have gone to Dynamite and not been on pay-per-view. Such as, well, I mean, I get why, given what they had happen in the aftermath, but as far as the match, Jack Perry, who barely looks, he does not look like a fucking wrestler. He looks like a string bean with just goofy hair. Oh, he's a scapegoat. He's a scape joke is what he is. Shibata and his new brain could not wrestle the TNT Championship. It is wild to see Shibata in a wrestling ring after he literally almost died at Sakura Genesis 2017, or at least in the aftermath. I felt bad for Shibata because he was having to carry a guy that is never going to be any better than he, was maybe even a couple of years ago. He's not going to ever improve. He's not believable. It's not going to work for Jack Perry. But then, he's doing the stuff. He hits Shibata with the title. He does all this. And then suddenly Daniel Garcia's music hits. He gets a big pop. And there was a confrontation or a thing with Shibata and Garcia on the most recent Dynamite. Building a possible match if Shibata won the TNT title. So now Garcia wants next. Okay, that's fine. Good stuff. All for that. But then, suddenly MJF's music hits. He was, I guess, filming Happy Gilmore 2. I don't know why we're doing a Happy Gilmore sequel, but whatever. MJF's getting more movie stuff. Maybe he did another one. I don't know. But he got a big pop. And, him and, he did a promo, Garcia, and him got in a tussle. But MJF was like, oh, I found my Dynamite Diamond Ring at a Buffalo pawn shop, and I have it back, and then he's going to do something, he's going to hit him. Obviously, they're going with Jack Perry and Garcia possibly for the TNT title, but first, we got to have Garcia and MJF, or do we? Because he's going to hit him, and then it's all about the boom, and Adam Cole, baby, shows up, and Jesus Christ, the roof blew off the place. Which is easy to do because the Tacoma Dome structure is not all that great. Yes, maybe I will stop knocking Tacoma one of these days when it stops being Tacoma. But, big pop for Adam Cole. I guess we're just forgetting all that devil stuff. Which is probably for the better. It wouldn't have even worked even if Adam Cole hadn't been injured. And now, I guess he's fine. He's as close to returning, and being healthy as he's ever been. So, good. I'm glad Adam Cole's back. He seems to be healthier, and that's great. And him and MJF having a match and intermixing some of these things, I don't mind that. I just hate the fact that Jack Perry's involved with the TNT title because it's not doing anything for the TNT title. It's just been tossed around more than a college student in Tacoma. Enough of that. Let's stop knocking Tacoma. Let's talk about Takeshita, Ospreay, and Ricochet in a three-way international championship match. The match that broke the pay-per-view crowd. Broke us. We tried everything we could to get back into it. We made some noise for some of the following matches, but this broke us. Was it flippy shit? Was it illogical at times, popping up from stuff? Yes. Was it a teetotal blast to watch in person? You're goddamn motherfucking right it was. This crowd, we made as much noise as possible. We were losing it. The floor was literally shaking during this match. It wasn't the only time the floor was shaking, but this was the loudest the crowd was all night. I felt the frickin' cheers and the reactions in my feet. It was amazing to be part of that. Takesha's a goddamn star. Ricochet was the odd man out here to me, but he still did some good stuff here. And Ospreay got the biggest goddamn pop of the entrances. Big Ospreay chance. But Takeshita, despite the fact he's supposed to be this vicious heel, we're like, we like you. You can do shit. So we want to see you win. The table bump was a little bit ridiculous, but whatever. But Callis getting involved, and then you have all this stuff going on with Ospreay, and oh no, he's finally going to get the evil dastardly heel, and then suddenly somebody attacks, and it's Dr. Wily. No, it's Kyle Fletcher, but with Dr. Wily's hair. If you get that, I love you guys. I know he didn't have it split down the middle, but it's just frizzy. Dr. Wily. So yeah, Fletcher ended up turning. Why? Because why not? I think we all expected it. I personally think it might have almost worked better if it had happened at Grand Slam. And then you could have had it where it's like, Fletcher, now is not your time. You made your point, but just wait. And then if he had done something here, it wouldn't have been a dramatic turn, because I think we all knew that Fletcher was going to turn. But at least it would have led to where we're going to, heap even more anger and hatred on him. But that being said, Takeshita did get the win, winning the title. Big pop. Despite the fact he's a dastardly heel, he won, and it was good shit. So this pretty much broke the crowd, and there were people that decided to use the bathroom after this, and it was a cool moment. And had the pay-per-view very much been almost over, had they gone like with maybe one more match and then gone to the goddamn main event and wrapped it up in about 3 hours, that probably would have been better. Swerve, we had the MVP Shelton, Swerve, and Nana thing, and look, people pop for Swerve. He is from Tacoma, Washington. He's done a lot of good shit in AEW and in his career in general. I mean, he busted his ass on the, Washington State Indies. Made numerous appearances at Defy that were referenced. One was referenced against MVP. And there were teases. Swerve kept going back and forth. Like, would he end up turning on Nana? But no, Nana's family, and I don't turn my back on family. Now, everybody thought Lashley was going to show up. Like, show up in the entranceway or something like that. No Lashley. I'm not one to step on Shelton's toes. I'm just saying, I think, because they had a Shelton Swerve face-off, I just think that this would have been better if Lashley had shown up. Whatever, maybe he's busy doing something else. Swerve got a big reaction, and we were hanging on the words like, he was saying to Nana, but this did go a while. Speaking of stuff that probably went a while and maybe should have been saved for Dynamite, Hologram against the Meat Mortos. Look, they can do athletic shit. I have nothing against these guys in particular. But like I said, the three-way killed the crowd. Hologram won. I mean, I actually had to look that up. I totally forgot that he won because that's how much that three-way was just insane. And also, Mortos can do some good stuff because he has more toes on each foot. Ha ha. That press slam thing that he does is insane. Even if, they would stop it a couple times. And Hologram can do some stuff. But I'm sorry, it was what it was. It wasn't a bad match, but it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. Went about 16 minutes. And yeah, Hologram got pinned once. And that was the first pinfall loss he's taken. That if you pay enough attention to that, you're better than me. But then we get to Darby Allin from Seattle, Washington. He decided to skateboard behind a bus going to Tacoma. If you know anything about Washington State transportation, public transportation, especially in King County and Pierce County, yeah, fuck you. Like, I would fucking never do that. I wouldn't even want to get near one of those buses. Darby Allin against Brody King. Brody beat the shit out of Darby, stepped on the steps. He decided to step it up. The step stuff. Darby kept fighting back. There was a spot where the steps were sitting up on their side. And people really popped for the goddamn chops, though, before. There was one, it was so loud, I was like, I think half of Darby flew up in the crowd. But they did the step spot. People really reacted to that, where Brody hit back first. Darby did the coffin drop. And Darby did get the victory, as he should have, and then show respect afterwards. I have no issue with that. Are they eliminating the House of Black? It might not be the worst idea, because I don't really know what else you can do. I do have to say the pyro seemed a little bit hotter than usual. Maybe they stopped doing the noise sensitivity stuff, but whatever. And then look, no disrespect to Private Party in this next match, because they had a new theme, and when Private Party was on offense against the Bucks for the AEW tag titles, the crowd was trying to make some noise. Why is the vast majority of anyone going to be interested in anything the Bucks do in 2024? Rick Knox is a terrible referee. Rick Knox is one of the worst wrestling referees in the history of professional wrestling. The Bucks did their shit. There was "fuck the Young Bucks" chants. There were cheers for Private Party because they're trying to do something with him, and people do like them. But yeah, I don't know how this came across on television, but we were just waiting like, can this please be over? Can you please get these two middle-aged fucking high schoolers out of the goddamn ring? Because it wasn't good. And yeah, we sort of bit on a bit of a false finish, like maybe Private Party will get, no, and then Private Party got standing ovation afterwards from the people that cared. But the Bucks, once again, proving that they have not earned, any bit of the increased contract they've got for Tony Khan, because it hasn't worked. Because they can't work. They can't wrestle. They can't do anything. Nothing of value, at least. Their value is so goddamn low and down in the depths, just like down the goddamn muck. It's not working. Mark Briscoe against Chris Jericho. Speaking of things that aren't working, for the Ring of Honor title, and look, when Briscoe was on offense, people cared. When Jericho was on offense, it was terrible. There were a few Jericho fans in my section because apparently everybody drank about as much as he does. Jericho can't go anymore. You had Bill, you had Gangster Stokely. I'm sorry, that's Brian Queef. It really does look like Stokely with a bandana, by the way. They're about the same height. And Orange Cassidy showed up. There was, I guess, an earlier pre-tape where Jerry Lynn was trying to maybe say, Orange, if you're more serious, you could be world champion. Don't you dare put that fucking evil on me, Jerry Lynn. What is wrong with you? But, yeah, Jericho lost, thankfully. Mark Briscoe, I didn't mind Mark Briscoe winning, but it took him like 15 minutes when really he could just ran Chris Jericho around the ring a few times, and he would have been gassed, and he could have just pinned him. Also, I don't understand why nobody bothered to ask Jericho where his wife was on January 6, 2021. So, they played the final countdown for, like, the majority of, like, Bryan's entrance and a little bit of the match, because Moxley made his entrance along with Marina Shafir, I think. We still don't know her. And they played the final countdown because it is the final countdown. I'm going to say right now, before I basically just finish this thing up, I don't have a problem with Bryan losing. Bryan should have lost. It was fitting for him to go out and him losing, and Moxley, taking over, winning the title, or maybe even eking out a win and having Christian Cage cash in the championship contract would have been something. But the thing is, they let Marina get away with way too much. Bryce just looked like a goddamn idiot. This did not play to Bryan's strengths. Yes, Bryan has needed neck surgery, and thankfully we'll be able to get it, and he'll be okay, and he can have a long quality of life. If he doesn't, come back to the ring for another year, okay, he can do part-time stuff. If he never wants to come back to the goddamn wrestling ring, he doesn't need to. The thing is, though, is Moxley. Moxley, at this point, I can't stand watching Moxley's matches. I can't watch, and be invested in what he does, because it's just not good. This whole, right said Mox stuff, him and Claudio and Marina and Pac and all this stuff, will Wheeler, won't Wheeler, it's not good. Yes, they did some decent stuff, but the floor being peeled away and and the backdrop on the floor, and then later a DDT on the floor. Bryan losing wasn't the issue, but it's the fact that he lost, and I'm going to tell you exactly how the crowd reacted, because I was there. I was there in the thick of it. He's getting choked out, and then suddenly, that's it. And everybody's like, did he tap? Did he pass out? Like, what the hell happened? Because, yeah, there's a screen over there, but it was so sudden, and people are just like, not even, okay, we knew Bryan was going to lose. Like, that's not the deflating part. You can have the hometown hero lose in his last match, put somebody over, and that's okay. The way they did it, though, they had that happen. They had Wheeler Yuta there. He was, going to put a bag over Bryan's head. Oh, he put a bag over Bryan's head. No, Wheeler, he made this decision. Wheeler Yuta is not useful to this company in this capacity. I'm sorry. He's not fucking believable. They have spent so much time on him, and it's not fucking working. It's not. The more they try, the more fans are going to push away. There were fans that were leaving, actually, during the main event. Not a bunch, but once they did that horseshit finish, a finish, by the way, that killed Washington State as a market, I will be amazed if AEW is back here before the summer next year. I don't know if they will be back for WrestleDream next year. I don't know where they're going to run WrestleDream next year. They can't run it in the Tacoma Dome because they ain't going to draw 7,000 to 8,000 people with this horseshit. With the fact that they aren't going to have anybody besides maybe Swerve and Darby to draw from. And I hate to say it, they ain't going to be able to get any, sizable amount of tickets from that. Bryan was not going to last forever, and he didn't need to. But they're trying this stuff with Mox. None of it has been good. It hasn't been believable. And if you're trying to do this, all you're doing is reforming, like the NWO. You're doing NWO 2000 stuff. They had Darby, Private Party, Security, all this stuff, and they were playing King of the Hill and fighting them and everything and all this, and none of it was good. People were either sitting on their hands or there were people literally leaving. There were people leaving up the steps. There were people leaving sections. There was probably, I would say, a good fourth of the goddamn crowd had left. It looked like it was not good. And then they did the stretcher job for Bryan. There were more people leaving. Yeah, people appreciate what Bryan did. And if Bryan wanted to go out basically being destroyed, I don't have a problem with him doing a stretcher job, doing that. But no, it's not like, oh, I didn't get my happy ending like Avril Lavigne. That's not it. This was a flat as fuck finish that killed the goddamn market there. Killed the market in the state. And Tony Khan better be careful, because the more markets he burns out, the more venues he burns out, you may have more television money. Your dad may have billions of dollars. And as long as you can keep this thing rolling, great. But eventually you're going to run out of shit to do. You're going to run out of turns to do. You're going to run out of wrestlers to, twist around. You're going to run out of stories to recycle. So I'm going to keep watching Dynamite, at least for the short term. And I hope that deal with Max comes soon, where they're going to have pay-per-views at a reduced price. Because if they expect people to pay $50 for this horse shit, for something like this, they're going to have some problems. I'm glad I went to that show. I had a great time with a couple of my friends. That three-way was fan-fucking-tastic to see. Darby and Brody was a pretty good match. It was nice to see Mariah May and Willow Nightingale so early in the show before the crowd was dead. Jay White and Hangman had a pretty good opener. There were good parts to it. But the thing is take a look at what happened after the three-way. You had the Swerve segment that went a little bit long. You had the 2 out of 3 falls match. It could have been on Dynamite. Darby and Brody got the crowd into it a little bit. The Bucks and Private Party, Briscoe and Jericho, and the horseshit finish of that main event. Khan's going to be lucky if he can draw 5,000 people at any show in Washington State if he decides to run again. I'll be amazed. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed my, chatter about the fact that I was there in attendance. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description, and letterbox handle in the description as well. I'm John Rutland. I'll see you soon.